Alright, Skip Barber at Barber. If you're new to this track, it's fun track, a lot more difficult than it looks like. Track's 21. I've seen it as high as 28, so keep that in mind. This track on cold tires, and certainly when the track's hotter like that, it is a lot slicker than hot tires and low fuel. So just be aware that it is the first few laps. You have to definitely take it a little easier, so watch out for that. So we'll go through the laps in slow, or the lap in slow-mo, and then run it out at full speed. Setups in the description below. I am using a 4.6, a 6 ARB. If you don't mind a little more oversteer, you could try 7 or even an 8. It might be a little faster. I like it to be a little more understeery because of all these fast corners. And if you're struggling, you may even want to try a 5 or a 4 maybe while you're learning the track. So watch out for that. So here we go. So coming up to the one board here, braking just before it. I like to hold it in 4th gear. You can go up to 5th gear if you are drafting off someone, especially 5th gear might be where you're at, but I do like to keep it in 4th. All things being equal, it's just way more consistent for me, braking and getting on the power. So holding it in 4th gear, hitting the brakes just before the one board. A bit of brakes, obviously cold tires, it's going to be a bit more brakes. And then the trick is you really got to get a little bit of throttle on. It's downhill. A lot of the corners on this track are downhill, the faster ones, and if you don't have a little bit of throttle on, it's so easy to lose your back end. You want to get right up to this curb. I don't ever want to get on this curb. It really unsettles the car. And yeah, just getting on the power. If you have missed the apex, don't be afraid to slow down, because if you get onto this cement, obviously it's an X, and there are some really nasty bumps up here that will really wreck it for you. So get right up to the line, full power, and then looking for the end of the cement here, shifting down from fourth into 2nd gear. You could maybe try and just hold 3rd gear a little bit and shift into 2nd a little later, but I like to get it all done at the same time. And again, getting on the brakes and then picking up the power just to keep that rear end stable. I like to hold it tight against the line here. I know there are some people who will run it out a little wider, maybe to this black line, maybe it's faster. I don't find it as consistent for me. So you're just building up the power, and then as you come around the bend here, so building up the power, and as soon as you see this Marshall post here, you definitely want to be getting pretty much up to full power. This is, the earlier you can get on full power, the better. This isn't really a straight, but you're going to be full power until the next corner. So earlier the better. Unwind the wheel, use all that track. So up into 4th gear, and basically I'm braking between, well, in slow-mo I'm braking here at the 2 board, but in real time it looks like I'm braking between the 2 and the 1. If you're better on the brakes than me, you can maybe brake at the 1 board, but I can't do it consistently. So getting on the brakes, pretty hard on the brakes, shifting down into 1st. This is again downhill. So don't turn in too sharp and don't turn in too early, otherwise you're going to lose your back end. And then again, just picking up some throttle in 1st gear just to keep that back end steady. Again, I like to hold it tight against the curb here. I know there are some people who come out a little wider here and turn in sharper, but I like the tighter line and don't really want to get on these curbs. If you pick up the power and you're got two wheels on this curb, it's pretty easy to spin the car, unsettle it. So get on the power as early as you can, first gear, shifting up second, third, fourth. You don't really necessarily want to use all of the track here. If you need to, you're not going to lose much time. Just make sure you really nail that corner, because you can lose a lot of time in this one. So coming up to the one, full power in fourth gear, and then I just dab the brakes a little bit on cold tires. Probably want to definitely dab the brakes, and you may even want to shift down into third here, but I just dab the brakes and just carry a little speed here, shifting down into third before this curb, into third gear, and just getting over top of the curb. Got to just be a little careful. It doesn't settle the car, but it does save you a lot of time. And then onto this curb as well. Getting onto this curb, shifting down into first gear, and then just picking up the throttle early. Make sure you get in close and tight to that curb, because it's going to be a long full throttle stretch here. Again, you don't want to brake. You don't want to have the brakes on here when you turn the wheel down this corkscrew part. It's very easy to lose your back end. There will be lots of cars that do it, so watch out for the guys in front of you. But yeah, you just need to pick up that throttle and be a little careful on the turn in. Make sure you're slow enough, otherwise that back end really lets go. So coming up to this next one in fourth gear, on cold tires you may have to do just a tiny lift through here, but basically looking for the start of the curb here as my turn-in point. I maybe turned in just a little bit later there. And yeah, you just want to straight line it as much as possible. You do want to get a tire onto this curb just to open up the corner a bit for this next one, and as well take a little curb on this one on exit. Make sure you just don't get on the grass, otherwise you get that fun X. And yeah, you really do need to use all the track here on exit if you're holding full throttle. Again, you get on the grass, that's an X. This one I do like to shift up into fifth gear. I find it just sets it up better, because once you get to this one board, just a touch of brake and shift down into fourth gear, and I find that kind of gets the car where you want it to be. This one is hard to see. You're coming over that ridge. Basically, you want to make sure you don't get on the grass in front of it. That is an X. And when you strike this curb, it actually unsettles the car a bit, so you want to get on the curb from the pavement side, not the grass side. And just keeping a bit of throttle on just to keep the back end steady and picking it up to full power. And again, for this curb, you do want to really get on this one. You'll see on the other view, I am just skimming the grass here. That's okay. I'm not quite sure where the line is, but if you get much over than what I am, you will get an X, and if you get even a little bit more over than what that is, you can actually get a slowdown here, so be careful about that. It's a painful slowdown. So fourth gear, yeah, just keeping on the throttle. I had a little counter steer there. Just maybe got on the throttle a little too early. Again, through that section on cold tires, there's probably going to be some lifting there. And then coming up to this next section, you're just looking for the curb here, and you want to get on it for sure. and then basically when you're here, you can spot this break in the barrier. That's going to be the next braking point. So shifting down into third gear here, basically kind of this repair patch is sort of the line I want to hold, and then once you kind of see the bend in the course there, shifting down into second gear. Bit of brakes, you don't want to go sideways through here. If you're going sideways, that's slow, and this is a real painful part. If you get this wrong, you'll lose a lot of time. So don't overdo it. Get onto this curb a little bit, and just picking up the throttle, and from here on out on hot tires it's full throttle till turn 1 again. So it's really important to nail that, because like I said, you'll lose a lot of time here. You do want to get onto the curb here if there's no one behind you, if you're not defending. It does open up the next corner, but don't get on the grass. That can spin you out and get you the X. And it's full power again on cold tires, probably a little bit of a lift here. And for this curb, some people go over this curb. I don't like to. I find it too, it's not consistent enough. If I get on this curb, sometimes it unsettles the car too much, sometimes it doesn't. So I like to just rub right up against it. Third gear, and then shifting up into fourth. And again, you're going to need all of the track here if you're going full throttle. You're going to exit out close to the end of this curb. Don't get on this grass. This grass, there'll be lots of cars spinning out here for those who overdid it or missed the apex. So watch out. You can spin out and lose a whole lot of time, or really spin out and end up in that wall on the left. And that's a 1:36.1. So good luck out there. Have fun, and we'll see you next time.